America, something just happened this Christmas that most people aren't fully grasping. While families around the world were celebrating faith and peace, the United States launched a decisive strike in Nigeria, targeting ISIS terrorists who have been slaughtering Christians for months. This wasn't a routine military move. It was a moral declaration, a warning to extremists everywhere. Attacking the innocent, the faithful, the vulnerable will not go unanswered. President Trump personally announced the strike, making it clear that America stands with persecuted Christians and that the US will continue to act where others fail. If you care about faith, freedom, and defending the powerless, stay with me. Because this story isn't just about Nigeria, it's about America's strength, principle, and moral leadership in a world where evil tests us every day. Smash the like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what you're about to see isn't just military news. It's a signal about the future of America and the values we fight to defend. To understand why this Christmas Day strike matters, and why it sent a shockwave through geopolitics and moral discourse, you need to see it against a backdrop of decades of bloodshed, broken promises, and neglected suffering. Nigeria has not just struggled with isolated violence. For years, it has been one of the most lethal theaters of religious and sectarian terror in the world. Islamist insurgents like Boko Haram and factions of the Islamic State have waged a relentless campaign of terror, bombing churches, massacring civilians, and displacing entire communities. In 2025 alone, more than 7,000 Christians were killed amid escalating violence, a toll so staggering it sparked accusations of systematic persecution and even genocide by advocacy groups. This isn't ancient history. This is a human tragedy unfolding in real time. Families butchered, children orphaned, churches destroyed, towns depopulated. Across the Middle Belt, northern and central Nigeria, terror groups don't just fight armies, they hunt civilians. For decades, global responses have been cautious, symbolic, and often minimal. Too many leaders spoke of interfaith peace, while everyday Christians lived under daily threat. The world watched as terror metastasized. But America's intervention on Christmas Day 2025 was neither cautious nor symbolic. This was a declaration of principle. President Trump himself posted on Truth Social that the US launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS militants in Sokoto State, northwest Nigeria, targeting terrorists who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. This wasn't about geography, it was about values. The right of every human being to live and worship freely without fear of execution, abduction, or annihilation. From a geopolitical perspective, this action fits a long American tradition of defending the defenseless. Recall the decisive airstrikes President Reagan ordered against Libyan terror networks in the 1980s, meant to send a clear message to state sponsors of terror that the US would not tolerate attacks on the innocent. Recall the post-9/11 campaigns that dismantled terror bases not just to win battles, but to restore deterrence and reaffirm that violence against innocents carries consequences. This Christmas strike follows that lineage. It was both strategic and moral. Not simply to destroy enemy infrastructure, but to project American resolve and to demonstrate that the United States still acts when the innocent are slaughtered. And make no mistake, this strike was not undertaken in a vacuum. Earlier this year, the Trump administration imposed visa restrictions and labeled Nigeria a country of particular concern under the International Religious Freedom Act because of the horrific toll on Christian communities. This is not foreign charity. This is the defense of universal values. The right to life, the right to worship, and the right for people everywhere, Christian, Muslim, or otherwise, to live without fear of annihilation. And in a world where weakness invites aggression and strength commands respect, this Christmas action was precisely the kind of decisive leadership that restores deterrence and honors human dignity. Stay with me, because next we're breaking down how this strike might reshape America's role in global security, religious freedom policy, and the moral imperatives that should guide every free nation. This strike in Nigeria is not just about Nigeria. It is a moral and strategic blueprint. It tells terrorists and would-be persecutors worldwide, you cannot target the innocent. You cannot attack people for their faith. America will respond decisively, morally, and without hesitation. For decades, extremists have exploited hesitation, calculating that the West would respond cautiously, symbolically, or not at all. Christians and other vulnerable communities have paid the price. Entire towns have been destroyed, families massacred, lives shattered. But now the United States has drawn a line in the sand. This strike shows that American power is not abstract. It is actionable. It shows that freedom and faith are not negotiable. It shows that our values are defended even thousands of miles from home. Analysts are already saying this sets a precedent for future interventions in defense of persecuted communities. It signals that America will act where human rights and religious liberty are under attack. This is why the Trump administration's decision is being called historic, because it is not just one strike. It is a recalibration of global expectations. Weak states can no longer tolerate terror unchecked, and violent actors cannot assume they are untouchable. And here's what it means for every American. Security at home is linked to strength abroad. Allowing terror to flourish overseas invites instability and radicalization closer to our borders. Faith and freedom are universal principles. Protecting Christians in Nigeria is part of defending liberty, the same liberty every American cherishes. Moral authority matters. Nations that act decisively earn respect. Nations that hesitate invite aggression. This strike is a signal to the world and a warning to every would-be oppressor. Attacking the innocent carries consequences. For patriots, conservatives, and every citizen who values freedom, family, and faith, the takeaway is urgent. America's moral and strategic leadership cannot be symbolic. It must be tangible, decisive, and principled. Because the next time terror rises, the world and America will be watching. And we cannot afford to send the wrong signal. War does not stay distant. It moves. It spreads. It tests the courage of nations and the conscience of leaders. In Nigeria, ISIS and Boko Haram have spent years exploiting chaos. Christians are targeted in their homes, in their villages, even on sacred holy days. These attacks are not random. They are deliberate assaults on faith, community, and the moral order. For too long, the world hesitated. Diplomatic statements were made. Condemnations were tweeted, but terror advanced unchecked, metastasizing into deeper chaos. The innocent suffered, families were slaughtered, villages burned, and the message grew clear to evil: hesitation is weakness. Then came Christmas Day 2025. President Trump ordered a strike that was neither ceremonial nor accidental. It was decisive. It was moral. It drew a line in the sand, attacked the innocent, and there will be consequences. The message was unmistakable. America will defend those who cannot defend themselves. Faith matters, life matters, liberty matters, and evil will not go unanswered. This strike was not just a warning to ISIS. It was a statement to allies. Protect the weak, stand for justice, uphold moral order, and to adversaries, chaos unchecked is met with force. Threats to life, faith, and freedom will not be tolerated. Contrast the actors. On one side, extremists, faceless, ruthless, emboldened by hesitation, thriving in darkness. On the other, America, a nation choosing courage over caution, principle over passivity, faith over fear. The stakes are personal. Ask yourself, when the weak are targeted, what measures civilization? Silence, hesitation, or action that defends life, faith, and liberty? From a strategic perspective, the ripples are global. Terror networks learn that attacking the innocent carries cost. Allies see that strength paired with principle is enforceable. The moral arc of the world bends slightly toward justice, because a nation that protects the vulnerable commands respect. Yet escalation carries risk. Every missile, every target is watched. Every act of courage forces adversaries to recalculate. The stakes rise with every decision. This is not abstract policy. This is a test of national character. Do we stand for faith, freedom, and life, or retreat hoping moral compromise keeps us safe? For patriots, conservatives, and every American who values courage guided by principle, the answer is clear. History shows how quickly hesitation emboldens evil, from Iraq to Afghanistan, from Benghazi to Syria. Now I want to hear from you. Do you believe America should strike decisively to defend the innocent, or wait and hope evil spares them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading everyone. If you believe in courage, faith, and defending life, hit the like button and subscribe. Because understanding this strike is not just about Nigeria. It's about what kind of America we are willing to be. The conflict isn't over. Every day, evil waits for hesitation. Every day, action reasserts principle. And for America, the choice is unmistakable. Stand firm or risk surrendering not just territory, but the moral high ground that defines our nation. As the dust settles over northwestern Nigeria, the implications of the Christmas Day strike extend far beyond the immediate battlefield. This was not simply an operational success. It was strategic statesmanship in motion, a demonstration of how principle and power converge to shape global perceptions. Operationally, ISIS and Boko Haram networks have been disrupted, key command hubs destroyed, the ability to strike civilians weakened. But the strike's significance lies as much in its signal as in its ordinance. Terror against the innocent will be met with force. Weakness invites aggression, decisive action commands respect. From a political science perspective, this is textbook coercive diplomacy. Kenneth Waltz, in his structural realism framework, emphasized that credibility is built on consistent, observable action. By acting decisively, on Christmas Day no less, America reinforced its reputation as a nation that defends life, faith, and liberty without hesitation. Hesitation is interpreted as indifference. Decisiveness is interpreted as resolve. Historically, the parallels are unmistakable. Reagan in Libya, 1986, swift airstrikes recalibrated adversary calculations and restored deterrence against state-sponsored terrorism. Bush, post 9/11, decisive retaliation against Al-Qaeda reset the global understanding of American resolve. In each case, moral authority and strategic power were inseparable. The Nigeria strike fits squarely in that tradition, showing the world that America does not negotiate with evil and that protecting the vulnerable is both a moral and strategic imperative. The broader lessons are multidimensional. Operational, terror networks are disrupted, cells scattered, plans thwarted. Strategic, adversaries across the region, from extremists to failing governments, must reassess their calculations. The cost of attacking the defenseless has risen. Morale, America has reaffirmed a principle too often forgotten in diplomacy. Faith, life, and freedom are not abstract ideals. They are obligations that demand action. Consequences. For global actors, this is a warning. The US will enforce moral and strategic imperatives. For citizens, it is a reassurance. Their nation remains committed to defending the vulnerable. And for policymakers, it is a blueprint for modern deterrence. Combine power with principle, action with credibility, morality with strategy. Ultimately, the Christmas Day strike in Nigeria is a case study in modern statesmanship. Strength without principle is tyranny. Principle without action is ineffectual. Action without legitimacy is chaos. For patriots, conservatives, and every American who values the moral architecture of the nation, the takeaway is clear. Defending the innocent abroad preserves freedom at home. Complacency allows evil to metastasize. Courage enforces the rule of law and the values that sustain civilization. This is more than a strike. It is a signal, a turning point, a reminder that America's strength and moral authority are inseparable. And the defense of the defenseless is a responsibility that cannot wait. This Christmas Day strike is not just about Nigeria. It is a signal, a warning, a moral and strategic declaration for the world and for America itself. To terrorists, it says, cruelty against the innocent carries consequences. To weak or hesitant leaders, it says, inaction breeds chaos, indecision emboldens evil. And to every American, it says, courage matters, principle matters, and liberty must be actively defended. This moment is a moral turning point. It reaffirms what has always defined the United States: faith as a foundation for society, courage in the face of evil, and justice as non-negotiable. Strength without principle is tyranny. Principle without action is ineffectual. America must embody both, in policy, in military posture, and in global engagement. History shows us the stakes. When nations fail to act against injustice abroad, threats metastasize at home. When America hesitates, freedom erodes, values erode, and enemies test the limits of patience. By acting decisively, the US set a precedent. Evil will not go unchecked, the innocent will not be abandoned, and moral courage defines power. For patriots, conservatives, and every citizen who treasures life, faith, and liberty, the lesson is urgent. Complacency abroad is a direct threat at home. Action preserves civilization. Courage safeguards liberty. Silence invites chaos. Decisiveness commands respect. This strike is a signal that American strength is not abstract. It is actionable. Moral authority is not symbolic. It is enforceable. And freedom is not self-sustaining. It must be defended by a nation willing to act, guided by principle and resolve. The world is watching. History is watching. And America has reminded itself and the globe that freedom will be defended. Evil will not go unanswered. And the values that built this nation are not negotiable. America is at a crossroads. This Christmas Day strike in Nigeria is more than a military action. It is a statement about who we are as a nation, the values we defend, and the courage we are willing to show in a dangerous world. These are not distant, abstract issues. They are about faith, freedom, and the protection of the innocent. Principles that define America itself. What happens next? How we respond to threats abroad, how we uphold our moral obligations, will shape the trajectory of our nation for decades. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story that will define America's strength and moral resolve. Because when America acts with principle and courage, the world takes notice, and I'll be here to guide you through every chapter. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.